US President Donald Trump spoke to reporters aboard Air Force One on the developments in Venezuela, saying that the current cooperation with the country's leadership is progressing well, following recent major shifts in the region's political landscape. Trump also confirmed discussions with Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez, noting an agreement for up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil, valued at roughly $4.2 billion to be sent to the United States of America. This announcement comes shortly after Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency to protect Venezuelan oil revenues held in U.S. Treasury accounts from legal seizure or attachment. The move aims to advance U.S. foreign policy and national security objectives while securing control over oil sales and revenues. The executive order prohibits judicial claims against these funds, which are considered sovereign property held in U.S. custody, and is intended to prevent actions that could undermine economic and political stability in Venezuela. These developments mark a significant shift in U.S.-Venezuela relations amidst ongoing geopolitical tensions and strategic focus on energy resources.
Venezuela is really working out well. We're working along really well with the leadership, and we'll see how it all works out. At some point I'll meet. Yeah, she's been very good. Look, she asked us, can we take 50 million barrels of oil? And I said, yes, we can. It's $4.2 billion. And it's on its way right now to the United States.
Trump also criticized ExxonMobil after the company's CEO called Venezuela uninvestable due to legal and regulatory challenges. Trump suggested that Exxon may be excluded from future Venezuelan oil deals.
I didn't like Exxon's response. We have so many that want it. I'd probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response. They're playing too cute.
US President Donald Trump has announced a hardline move against Cuba, declaring that no more Venezuelan oil or money will be allowed to reach the island nation. Trump suggested that the communist-run country should strike a deal with Washington, sharply escalating pressure on the long-time US adversary. This detailed report tells you more.
US President Donald Trump on Sunday ramped up the pressure on Cuba, warning the communist-run island in a Truth Social post that the flow of Venezuelan oil and money would now stop, while urging the country to make a deal. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel rejected Trump's threat on social media, suggesting the U.S. had no moral authority to force a deal on Cuba, adding, quote, "Cuba's a free, independent, and sovereign nation. Nobody dictates what we do."
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out.
Venezuela is Cuba's biggest oil supplier, but shipping data shows that no cargoes have departed from Venezuelan ports to the Caribbean country since the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro by U.S. forces. This is amid a strict U.S. oil blockade on the OPEC country. Meanwhile, Caracas and Washington are progressing on a $2 billion deal to supply up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil to the U.S., with proceeds to be deposited in U.S. Treasury supervised accounts. Trump's push on Cuba represents the latest escalation in his move to bring regional powers in line with the United States, and underscores the seriousness of the administration's ambition to dominate the Western Hemisphere.
Now, reacting strongly, Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel said Cuba is ready to defend itself. He rejected Trump's claims that Havana provided security services to Venezuela in exchange for oil, asserting that Cuba is a free, independent, and sovereign nation. In a post on social media platform X, Diaz said that the U.S. has no moral authority to accuse Cuba, adding that Washington turns everything, even human lives, into a business. He also said that the U.S. is acting hysterically because of the Cuban people's sovereign choice of their political system. Not just the leadership, Cubans on the ground have also said that they are prepared to face mounting pressure from the Trump administration.
He knows perfectly well that he has to find a solution because he can't just take over Cuba like that. And if he went down that route with Venezuela, it's because there were shady things going on. But we're not to blame for any of that. Cuba is Cuba and Venezuela, they're totally different. And yes, we will be quite affected, quite a lot.
A mí eso no me asusta, para nada.
That doesn't scare me. Not at all. At no point does that scare me because I'm prepared. The Cuban people are prepared for anything, any situation that may arise, for everything. We are prepared for that.
Meanwhile, Venezuela has reiterated its historic support for Cuba, reaffirming its commitment to fraternity, solidarity, cooperation, and unity, even as the U.S. intensifies efforts to isolate the Caribbean nation.